I mean, I think it's disgusting. I mean, remember, it's no coincidence that where they visited was the Royal Children's Hospital.
So Meghan and Harry just wrapped their latest quasi-royal tour in Australia, and royal experts are absolutely furious about how they're monetizing royal prestige for personal profit. We're talking about strategic hospital visits followed by product launches, turning Queen Elizabeth's legacy into a business model. Let's break down exactly how they're doing this.
This is the children's hospital that was opened by Queen Elizabeth, and it's been chosen for that reason. And then you've got her selling clothes off the back of it.
This is exactly the exploitation pattern. They deliberately chose a hospital opened by the late Queen to generate royal gravitas, then immediately pivoted to commercial activities. It's calculated brand positioning, using the monarchy's charitable legacy as a backdrop for profit-making ventures.
Well, it's an ATM. I'm not sure how successful that ATM is. How much money are they going to
It's been diminishing returns, hasn't
it? But they're there for commercial reasons, and like Rebecca says, it's evidence of what they always wanted, essentially.
The ATM analogy is perfect because it reveals their true motivation. Every public appearance is now a revenue opportunity. They've essentially created a business model where royal prestige gets converted into commercial value, which is exactly what they were forbidden from doing as working royals.
I mean, you can say that they're no longer working royals, but they're doing a very good job of sort of concealing that by mixing these engagements.
This deceptive mixing is the core problem. They're deliberately blurring the lines between charitable work and commercial ventures to maintain royal credibility while monetizing it. The public can't tell where genuine service ends and business promotion begins.
Sarah and Mike Tyndall they go in January for the event at the Gold Coast, don't they? But they never mix it up with hospital visits and this type of thing. They just go to do a job, and that's fine. But it's this real mixing up which is causing trouble.
Exactly. Legitimate royal family members maintain clear boundaries. Zara and Mike do commercial work transparently, without exploiting royal connections for charity visits. The mixing creates ethical confusion and undermines both charitable causes and commercial ventures.
Well, it's very much is part of that, because what we're seeing in Australia is what they want to be the case in Britain as well. The big event is in summer, it's in July, where it's a year before the Invictus Games in Birmingham, and Harry wants to bring Meghan with him for that.
This Australia trip is their beta test for bringing this commercialised royal model back to Britain. The Invictus Games represents their biggest opportunity to establish this precedent on UK soil, which would fundamentally challenge the monarchy's authority over royal representation.
Well, that remains to be seen, but he's certainly trying as hard as he can to get that automatic security that he thinks would ease her way back in. And this is the model that he wants to pursue, and I think it's a real problem for the royal family.
The security battle isn't really about protection, it's about legitimacy. Taxpayer-funded security would essentially validate their commercial royal activities, forcing British citizens to subsidise their business model while they profit from exploiting royal heritage.
Well, it would appear to be that they're struggling to sell tickets for Meghan's wellness event. I mean, we'll see how that goes. And they're struggling in the sense that they've lost those big money deals with Spotify and Netflix that they had. So they're having to kind of work harder. And I would argue that's why they're having to do trips like this, with the personal appearances, the speech by Harry that he's giving later this week, in conjunction with these public engagements. But
their financial desperation is driving increasingly problematic behaviour. Losing Netflix and Spotify deals worth hundreds of millions has forced them into this quasi-royal touring circuit, where they're essentially selling access to royal-adjacent experiences to stay financially viable.
It's it's worrying times, I would say, for them, but also for the royal family.
The threat to the monarchy's reputation is real. When former royals commercialise royal activities while current working royals maintain dignity and service, it creates public confusion about what the institution actually stands for and represents.
I have to say, personally, I would like to see Prince William and Catherine undertaking more foreign visits, because Harry and Meghan, I would say, are ruthlessly sort of stepping into that void. I mean, come on, I just think, Colombia, Nigeria, Australia, they're really going for it.
They're strategically positioning themselves as the active, accessible alternative to working royals. By visiting countries like Colombia, Nigeria, and Australia while William and Catherine focus on domestic duties, they're creating an international shadow monarchy.
But we're waiting for them to take on some of these foreign tours, and Harry and Meghan are trying to step in there and say, actually, we're the real royal.
This positioning as the real world royals is particularly dangerous for British foreign relations. Foreign governments and media might start viewing them as legitimate royal representatives, undermining official diplomatic channels and creating international confusion.
Well, I would say last-minute tickets suggest that they're struggling to sell them. They are quite expensive. We'll see. I know a lot of people have been rejected because there are an awful lot of journalists applying.
Last-minute ticket availability for expensive events reveals their commercial failures. They're also controlling media access to avoid scrutiny, rejecting journalists who might ask tough questions about their monetization of royal connections.
But the problem is that a lot of it does sound always like digs at his family, because we've read his memoirs, and that's the sort of whole theme of his complaint is always about how he wasn't brought up very well by his dad.
The therapy speak has become their brand now, monetizing family grievances and royal dysfunction. Every public appearance includes subtle digs at the family that raised him, turning personal trauma into commercial content for their various ventures.
It wasn't a sort of self-pitying, woe is me, that we sort of see from him a lot now. And in a way, I would argue that he's giving, sort of talking about your mental health, a negative spin, rather than something positive should be helping people.
Yeah. He's actually damaging mental health advocacy by making it self-pitying rather than empowering. His previous work was genuinely helpful, but now the constant victimhood narrative makes mental health discussions seem whiny rather than constructive.
But the thing about Prince Harry is he loves the courts. I mean, it's been his second home over the past few years.
I don't know if he loves them.
Well, so maybe, they're taking a leaf out of his book and thinking, that's where they want to take their action. But
his litigation obsession perfectly demonstrates his mindset. He sees courts as weapons for personal vendettas rather than justice systems. Now, that same legal approach is being used against him, revealing how his aggressive tactics create enemies everywhere.
But, I mean, I can never think of a case of a charity, suing their former royal patron. It's extraordinary, and it just shows you how angry that situation became.
A charity suing their former royal patron is unprecedented and shows how completely he's burned institutional bridges. Even organisations he once supported now view him as toxic enough to risk public legal battles against.